recording. So, contacting your spirit guides without all the woo-woo. I'm Amy Wilson, and so I'm giving this little class. What are spirit guides? So basically, there's been a lot of talk about spirit guides and connecting with them to help us in our everyday matters. So spirit guides can be anywhere from deceased relatives, friends, individuals that you may or may not know, as well as angels, totem animals, and nature spirits. And they are strictly devoted to your spiritual growth and enrichment. So reasons for contacting your spirit guides would be for emotional support, guidance, anything to help you with your day-to-day spiritual practices, relations. A lot of ums today. Not enough coffee, clearly. How does one begin their relationship with their spirit guides? I get asked a lot of this from clientele that I work with. And I think for me personally, I find it very important to be in contact with your spirit guides. And people think it's like some sort of bizarre, like you have to be, a high priestess witch, or you have to be like one with God and all this stuff. And it's really not that. I mean, the common person can actually have their spirit guides contact them without all the extra stuff. So basically, I tell clients all you have to do is ask for your spirit guides to come in and speak with you. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I know they're speaking to me, when they don't really realize that they're already speaking to them, but they don't understand that their spirit guides speaking with them. So I suggest to clients to ask their spirit guides to show them that they're there. And what I do is tell them that they should pick an everyday object, but not an everyday object that they see every day. So I think I gave an example of like a pickle, a bluebird, something that you normally wouldn't see on an everyday basis. So you would ask your spirit guide to show you 3 times. I always say the number 3, so it's like a verification, because you can see something twice and not see it again, and it's just maybe coincidence. So you ask the spirit guide every day to show you this, magical pickle. It could be anything, and usually within a week, you'll start seeing pickles on TV, and books, and magazines, and, definitely on the grocery store shelf, and just random spots. So that's the indication that your spirit guide is with you, and they're showing you that they are there and they are present. So a lot of, so once you start seeing your spirit guides, you can elaborate the relationship with them and develop it with them. So you can ask them things like, should I be making this decision to take this job, or to go to the store, or to cut my hair, or whatever it is that is pressing for you at that time. Usually they're there for emotional support, so maybe a haircut, unless you're like really dramatic about your hair, wouldn't be a big thing. So you would ask them, and you would start getting pings or gut feelings, because usually your gut feelings or your instinct or what you're drawn to is guided by your spirit guides. So you would start asking them, for example, I'm just going to keep it very simple, not get really heavy and deep. Should I cut my hair? So you'd start seeing hairstyles that you would like, or start hearing, I call it the voice in your head, even though it's not the voice in your head, it's more of an intuitive voice, not some disembodied voice that's floating out there, be like, no, you should not cut your hair, and like start floating around and throwing objects. It doesn't work that way. It sounds more like a thought, but doesn't, I guess, feel like a thought. It's more of kind of like, I call it like the mother nagging kind of thing, like you hear your mom in the other room, but it's like actually in your head, saying, no, you shouldn't cut your hair, you should grow it, or, cut it all off because it needs to be cut off. So you'll start to hear it, and then that kind of quote-unquote naggingness of it usually doesn't cease. It's like you go to the salon, you're like, no, I'm going to grow it, even though the voice in my head is telling me not to, or is telling me to cut it off. And then you're just sitting there like, okay, cut it off. Or so it's a voice that is present. Some people don't actually get the clairaudience sensation, which is the voice in the head. Sometimes some people get the imagery. So you may start seeing pictures in magazines of different haircuts, but they're all kind of like the similar theme. So like cutting it really short, like a pixie or a bob cut, you can start seeing these different hairstyles and they won't stop coming in. And you're like, what the hell? Like my spirit guides like to speak to me sometimes in music, and mine are kind of actually a little funny at times, because you can have more than one spirit guides. When I say guides, I have more than one. But I was at the dentist, and I don't like going to the dentist, and I was getting a filling, and I don't think anybody likes to go to the dentist. I don't know, there may be somebody out there who does. But I remember being in the chair and getting really tense, and I was like white knuckling everything. And a song comes on. I can't remember the artist who does it, but like the main chorus is "Just Breathe." And all of a sudden I'm like hearing it's like "Just breathe, just breathe," and the artist is singing along, and I'm just like, you are hilarious. And it was true, because like all I needed to do was stop white knuckling the chair and just like inhale and exhale and just like keep repeating in my mind, like, this is going to be over soon, it's a superficial cavity, like there's Novocaine, like there's not any like stuff coming in where they're going to like take a hammer and a chisel, just breathe. So that's how sometimes spirit guides will speak to you as well. I think developing relationships with the spirit guides are really important. I'm totally going off script here, but developing relationships with your spirit guides are very important, and to communicate with them every day, I think, is really important, and to honor and thank them as well. Like the dental situation for me, I was like, okay, thank you. Like after I was just trying not to laugh, getting my cavity filled, and I was like, okay, thank you for that. Like I really appreciate it, and I feel spirit guides will have a tendency to come back more and come back more clearly the more gratitude and appreciation you show to them, because it's like, that person that's giving you advice and you're like, no, like I got this, like I don't need your advice, and then all of a sudden like you realize you don't got it. And then your spirit guide's like, oh well. But it's like, at least listen to and acknowledge what they're trying to tell you, because they are there for your spiritual development and growth. Let's see. I think I kind of covered the how your spirit guide is answering you. So as I was talking about, they speak in different ways. Music. Sometimes people. I'm not a writer. I'm more of a visual person, so sometimes I get imagery. But people who like write poetry or into music, or just like writing in general, they'll probably pick up more of their messages from their spirit guides through either music, poetry, or the written word. But I think it's also important to realize, like, what is your intuition and your spirit guide speaking to you, opposed to just pure imagination. So I always equate, when your spirit guide comes in, it's like when you get in a car, you kind of make a conscious note of like, oh, I'm going to put my seatbelt on when I'm driving. So the spirit guide is more of that kind of conscious note, opposed to imagination, like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Then my spirit guide is saying like, Armageddon's coming and it's going to be on this date, or like these are the winning lottery numbers, and it's imagination is more of that kind of thing where you start to fantasize more about answers. Spirit guides have a tendency to speak to you very like, this is XYZ, put your seatbelt on, end of story. It's not like, winning lottery numbers and you're going to make $1 million and this kind of elaborate, fanciful explanation or answer to you. Spirit guides also like to speak in your dreams. Mine have a tendency to be very abrupt. And spirit guides will try to grab your attention in your dream. So it won't be like the regular everyday kind of dream where you're just like, oh, I'm shopping at the supermarket and I just bought like 25 purple pumpkins or whatever it is, like some like random everyday dream. Spirit guides have a tendency to put you into situations where you may be with somebody that you're uncomfortable being with, or a place where you're uncomfortable being with. Just to put it bluntly, like sometimes they'll just put you in a nightmare to kind of say, hey, look, I'm trying to show you something. And then usually from that nightmare, if you say, okay, you have my attention, then you'll start to see more, or otherwise you just kind of continue in the nightmare. Nightmares are also triggered by stressful situations where your spirit guides are needed more to help guide you through the stressful situations. But when you're in the nightmare, the key point is to be aware that something is trying to get my attention. And then if you can in the dream be like, okay, show me what it is I need to know. And usually it takes a little practice to get to that point, but it can be done. And usually the nightmare will kind of cease, and then something will start to be shown to you. I've had spirit guides show up in the weirdest places. And it's actually really kind of grabbed my attention. And I think if you really want your spirit guides to speak to you in your dreams, it's very important to ask before you go to sleep at night, please show me what it is I need to know at this time. And I always recommend to clients to ask them to show you kindly and gently, because some spirit guides are very abrupt and abrasive and aggressive. So I think it's important, especially on a spiritual path, to ask them kindly to not shake you up too much. Be like, get my attention, but we don't need fire and brimstone or anything kind of crazy coming in. Ways to deepen and develop your relationships with your spirit guides. This is a little bit where the woo-woo part kind of comes in. Meditation, is always a great way to connect with guides. You can find many beautiful meditations on YouTube, different various like podcasts. There's a lot of great meditations to go with that. Create a sacred space is also really fantastic. If you don't keep an altar at home, maybe by your bedside, keep a little something for your spirit guides. I do offerings, but I mean, the work that I do is a lot deeper than, I guess, the average person, if you want to put it that way. Keeping a spirit guide journal, write down your experience, dreams, and knowledge that they share with you. And that's the way you can kind of see what comes to fruition over time, because you may have your spirit guide tell you something in a dream that doesn't happen until like a year later or 6 weeks later, or something where you completely forgot about it. And don't micromanage spirit guides. They don't like that very much. So you can't always turn to them and demand things of them, like, spirit guide, I want my $1 million and I want it now, and I want it and like all penny rolls and whatever. So I mean, just to be kind and present and peaceful with them, and they'll come in, and it's more the relationship that you develop with them, the more they'll just come to you, be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, or hey, maybe you should be trying to do that, or how about this or that. I know once I sit and I find a still, quiet space, they definitely come to me, and it's usually when I lock myself in my bathroom away from my toddler that it actually works a little bit, unless he's banging on the door, but it doesn't really work. Are there any questions, concerns?
I have one question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
How would you find out like what your spirit guide is, or who your spirit guide is? Because like you mentioned like offerings and like an altar space, but like I wouldn't really know what to do if I didn't know who or what my spirit guide was. So would that just be like an asking before you go to sleep kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask them, definitely be like, I want, have a conversation with them. Be like, I want to develop this relationship with you. I want to make you an altar. What is it that you would like to be put on your altar? And they'll usually tell you, like mine right now, it's demanding cigars. So it's been really like kind of frustrating because I quit smoking 10 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know if I can like do that temptation. But I've been getting a lot of like visual references to cigars. My neighbor is now like smoking a lot of cigars, so I'm like always smelling the smoke and I'm like, come on, I quit smoking. But you'll start to get that, like ask them to show you. And like when I work with my spirit guides, I always ask them, show me in 3s. Or like 85s with the cigars lately. But then they'll start showing you, like, you know, these are the types of things that I like. And then you'll start feeling the tug or the pull towards things. Like if you're out shopping and all of a sudden at the store, you see something and all of a sudden, like you have to have it. And then you leave the store without it and you keep hearing it in your head or seeing it in your head. Any other questions?
No, that was great.
Well, thank you very much. I included my email in there, so feel free to email me. I mean, you know how to find me, so.
All right, cool.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.